moving now to the beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio, situated beautifully on the lake. That's about all it has to it. There's nothing much more for that city. I was really trying to think.
I was about to say, huh? Okay.
It is on a lake. LeBron used to live there. Those are the two things it has going for them. 11-6, same coach, Kevin Stefanski, same offense. Stefanski calls the plays. Ken Dorsey is the new offensive coordinator. He was the OC that Buffalo fired after they were a roughly 500 team, and then they went on their little win streak there. So Ken Dorsey, the OC, but Stefanski still calling the plays. Starting offense, oh, baby. Fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson is back at the quarterback 1 position, QB 21 in ADP. His backup, no longer January Joe. It is instead January Jameis. Look out. Look out, you sons of bitches. Jameis Winston could see some playing time this season. The RB1, Jerome Ford. You may be asking yourself, why is Jerome Ford the RB1 currently? Well, Nick Chubb may have completely ripped his leg apart last year. Hard to say. But he is RB44 in ADP, where Jerome Ford is RB39. Deonta Foreman, the big dog himself, it says wide receiver 63. That's not right. He's running back 63. Dumbass that puts together the show sheet. Josh, jeez. Wide receiver 1, Amari Cooper at wide receiver 29. Jerry Jeudy is wide receiver 61. Gross. Elijah Moore, wide receiver 96. And Cedric Tillman, the second-year player, wide receiver 100. In tight end 1, in chief number 1, David Njoku is the tight end 11. He is okay. We can talk about David Njoku because that man, that is a scary man. But we won't start there. We'll start in the backfield with Jerome Ford. Now, I have a funny feeling Fizzle and I are going to heavily disagree on this because I imagine Fizzle saying this is a value at RB39. I can't imagine we're shitting on a guy who is not even a flex player when you think about it, getting drafted where he's at. So I have to imagine this is an upside play. How do you feel, Fizzle?
First of all, I want to say shout out famous Jameis, man. I had to eat a W when you was talking about my guy, man. The famous one, the Jameis one. That's my dog right there.
Nothing but L's, though.
Like, that's my guy, man. Listen, he ain't past quarterback 32, man. He should be starting, man. But Jerome Ford,
don't worry, he will be.
Listen, that's all I'm saying, man. It's trouble in Cleveland, man. That's all I'm telling you, man. But Jerome Ford, right? So he finished what around?
I think it was 15.
15 last year?
I think it was RB 15. He was fairly high.
Okay, so he finished 15, right? Yeah, 813 yards, 9 touchdowns, 204 carries, right? And he started, I think, weeks 13 to 17. But he didn't come into the offseason thinking he was a starter. He didn't practice with the ones. Nick Chubb, that was his job. He was locked in. This offseason, if he finished 15, knowing that he's coming into the season as the guy, and Nick Chubb is probably a long shot to even play before December even starts, I don't see how the coach of the year 2 times looks at him and say, hey, you are Nick Chubb right now. You're not as good as Nick Chubb, but you are Nick Chubb. We didn't put a young, great running back behind you. Deontay Foreman he's a solid running back, but they didn't put a threat behind Ford that he feels like one bad move and he's benched. He's sitting out, So coming in with the knowledge as we leaning on you because maybe Deshaun isn't who we thought he was, and we gonna trust his run game like Nick Chubb was there. I believe Jerome Ford, man, behind this offensive line and this division where, now they starting to throw the ball a lot more, but it's still a gritty, grimy division, especially when they get cold, man. If Nick Chubb isn't available or he's still ramping things up by December, man, Jerome Ford finished 15. If he plays 15 games as the starter, man, Jerome Ford is running back 12, bro. He's the RB1 this year. If Nick Chubb doesn't touch that field and interrupt that offense. Like, I don't think he will. I believe they pay Nick Chubb because they respect him and they love him, but I don't think Nick Chubb is going to be any factor on the field during the regular season. Playoffs, maybe they make it and they need him, but It's Jerome Ford time, baby, and we built Ford tough, so we gonna go Jerome Ford, running back 12 if he plays every game this year, man.
I like
Jo-
that. Built Ford tough. I like that.
Josh, I'll let you go.
But I did
The
want to say, if
thing
you
I
get him
like
at
with Ford, go
39,
ahead.
bro, that's a hell of a steal. I don't mean to cut you off, Josh, but to get him at 39, if he's ranked, if he's listed even as 15, let's say he finished 15, you doubled your money. So that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the pass catching volume. I mean, he had over 60 targets last year, and that was a huge contribution into, he actually finished his RB 16, but that's obviously splitting hairs. But it does kind of interest me that, you bring in someone like Foreman, who is very well known for being like kind of an early down grinder. We saw that what Ford can do from a pass catching perspective, that maybe they try to do more of like a 1-2 tandem versus just saying, all right, Ford, you're going to be the every down guy, right? I'm also not 100% convinced that Nick Chubb doesn't find a way to get onto the field by October. I know that was a nasty knee injury, but by the start of the season, you're looking at about 12 months of rehab time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Chubb is clearly built different. I feel like we throw that phrase around irresponsibly, but I mean, he's tore his knee up twice in college. This is the second time he'll have torn up that same knee. But I still think 44 is criminal for Nick Chubb. But I don't hate the value with Ford, right? Like, again, even just the pass catching volume alone tells me that RB39 is a steal. And he had over 200 carries last year. So even if that drops down to like 180, 150, he keeps 60 plus targets, and what he can do with that should still be a top 24, top 26 finish for Jerome Ford. So I think it's plenty of value at RB39.
So while I don't disagree that he has everyone has value at 39 at that point. Like, everyone has value. He is all over the place in terms of efficiency. You have no idea if you're getting 15 carries for 25 yards or 7 carries for 107. And that is what I can't stand about Jerome Ford, because in these games, for example, the Cleveland against Pittsburgh game, he was 16 for 106. I'm pretty sure one of those carries was 60 yards. He did nothing the rest of the game. That's my worry with Ford, is what that shows me is he doesn't have good vision. Because with how many big plays he had last year, he's still under 4 yards a carry. That's, which we know was the bar for a good running back, is 4 yards a carry. 3.9. Kamara's been under 4 the last 3 years. And yes, you're splitting hairs at that point, but that shows you that he doesn't have the best vision. I love his big playability, and I would actually like if Deonta Foreman came in and they did a 1-2 split, because that means you're going to see a Najee Harris, Jalen Warren thing where Jalen Warren's in for like 15 to 20 plays, but he has 10 touches and averages 8 yards a play with those touches. Whereas I think if Warren was in there full time, you wouldn't see that efficiency. Look at Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. That's your perfect case study. If Jerome Ford can play second fiddle to either when Chubb comes back or when Deonta Foreman's in there, because neither of those guys catch passes. They don't. It's just not what they do. Georgia running backs have never caught anything. So that's no surprise there with Nick Chubb. And Deonta Foreman's been the same way. If they can do that, I'm okay with that. But I'm looking at the ADP, and there's guys around there that I would just much rather have over Jerome Ford. Because, Chase Brown feels like it's kind of the same thing. Obviously, Ford is going to have more playing time because he has less competition currently. But Chase Brown's competing with Zach Moss. Are we really worried about Zach Moss in that standpoint? Zeke, I hate saying this, but who the hell is competing with Ezekiel Elliott in that backfield, right? Like, at that point, at 38, it's like, well, he's going to have 25 carries a game. Might as well fucking take him. Austin Eckler at 40. Zach Charbonnet at 41. Like,
I'll take Ford over Charbonnet.
Hey, Joe, but I will say this, right? I would take Ford over all those guys, but remember, Ford had like 5 quarterbacks last year too, bro. He had Darian
there was
Thomas
no consistency
Robinson.
behind him.
Oh yeah, there was no consistency.
It
I
was
agree
no
with that.
consistency at the quarterback or the offense. So I believe a lot of those inefficient games came from they don't even know what plays to call because they don't trust anybody that's lining up behind the center until Joe
That's fair.
Flacco showed up. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, and it's a great point because I said the same thing when I brought him up. But then I also looked at it's no consistency with the offense. So if
I'll give you that.
Deshaun can be this $250 million guy and be consistent in staying in the game, I don't care what he do in the game, but just stay in the game, and at least they'll know the game. You know, the what I want to say
Not the game plan.
Yeah, like pretty much what we
Yeah.
gonna do for today. Not waking up saying, "Well, we got a rookie." No. Then they had like 4 different quarterbacks last year, bro. So
DTR, Flacco, Watson, and PJ Walker.
it was ugly, man. PJ Walker, I mean, come on, bro. That's the only reason why I gave my guy Ford a lot of slack because I felt
That's
like
fair.
his inefficiencies came from not knowing what we were going to do today. Like we just
they had an inconsistent line too. They had a lot of injuries across that line last year, if I'm not mistaken.
All true. My worry is if Deshaun Watson is not that. Let's just say Deshaun Watson plays all 17. Let's forget that he's a bitch and probably sits out half the season. But if he plays all 17 and he's not Deshaun Watson, are we not worried? Now, I'm not worried about Nick Chubb could see an 11-man box and still average 5 yards a carry. That man will do. The man's insane.
For sure.
If Jerome Ford is seeing stacked boxes because you're just like, all right, we'll just cover Amari Cooper one-on-one or double cover Cooper and we're fine elsewhere because they really, yes, Njoku's a threat, but they don't really have a threat outside of Amari Cooper.
I don't know, Joe, but listen though. I don't listen now. This is what I'm gonna say, right? I'm not saying these guys are that good. I'm not gonna say argue with you. But they signed Jerry Jeudy for a reason. The speed will factor into something.
That's why. He's going to be doing this, trying to catch footballs and missing. Come on,
I'm not saying he's going to be efficient. I'm just saying he's going to be fast. He's going to run some routes. They got Elijah Moore. He's quick. I mean, they got guys that are quick enough to draw defenses back a little bit because you get them if they catch the ball.
Respect. I give you that. I'll give you that.
Exactly. Like they're gonna respect these guys enough to not stack the box. I think that's why they did it to help open up the running game because they realized it was no threats last year. So paying Jerry Jeudy, who's due for something. I mean, he's due to show up at some point.
We think.
And you're right. We think. I just want to make the case for Ford that hopefully they put enough around the offense to say Ford should be comfortable as a RB1 in this team and, maybe lead that division, man, in rushing for a little while.
It's hard to argue with a guy who's coming in as the lead back at RB 39. It's very hard to argue that point.
For sure, you got me, bro. You got me.
He's going to like.
I spent over 10 minutes arguing on it.
Well, my argument is he's just so inefficient. That's my argument. Is like just don't grab Ford and like start him week 1 and expect a fucking boom week. Like, there's such a good chance he averages 2 yards a carry week 1. Like, there's a real chance of that. And you'll be kicking yourself when he averages 2 yards a carry and then rips off an 80-yard touchdown.
I'm going to say, just trade him to me, man. If you don't want him after week 1, trade him to me, man. I'll take him.
But you are right. I think the worry is, will the defense respect Deshaun Watson? I do think there's enough speed on the team to respect. And Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy can run routes. Catching the football is a secondary story for the both of them.
For sure.
But, yeah, we will go with probably when Nick Chubb's not healthy, their second best weapon in David Njoku. He has to be the largest human I've seen. Like, that man should not be able to move the way he does and do the things he does. Now, will he be able to do the things he can do with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, Josh? Because to me, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what he was able to do without Deshaun Watson last year, so 10-game pace, he was on pace for 257 fantasy points, which would have blown away Sam Laporta last year. Like, that's 146 targets, 95 catches, 1,108 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That was without Deshaun Watson. Scary how awesome he was going to be without Deshaun. Then you put him with Deshaun for those first 6 games. He was on pace for 153 fantasy points, 102 targets, which is still great. You love that sort of target volume. 71 catches, 652 yards, and only 3 touchdowns. So that just goes to show you how washed Deshaun Watson's shoulder is right now. Like, it's bad. So hopefully he spent the time in the offseason rehabbing and strengthening that shoulder, because when you get David Njoku downfield, he is a scary man with the football in his hands. And I've known this going all the way back to the Miami days because I'm a huge Hurricanes fan. I've been a fan of David Njoku for a very long time. So I absolutely love this. And I love that our own Kelly Singh got a chance to spend some time with Njoku at the Super Bowl. And because she's a huge David Njoku fan now. And I love this. But I'm perfectly fine with this tight end 11 ADP, because when you look at these splits with Deshaun Watson, he was on pace for a tight end 10 finish. Without Deshaun Watson, he was trending as the tight end 1 last year. So when you look at who's backing up Deshaun this year, what does that look like? It's kind of Joe Flacco light. It's a big-armed guy that knows how to throw the football downfield. Doesn't that kind of play to David Njoku's strengths? If I'm drafting David Njoku, I'm kind of praying that Jameis Winston comes in and starts eating W's, baby.
I will say the one thing you cannot discount Jameis Winston on is he doesn't give a flying fuck if he throws 7 interceptions. He's gonna
slinging it.
YOLO, baby, YOLO.
He doesn't care in the slightest what happens to that football.
And at the end of the day, you want a tight end that's going to be a top 2 target, or at worst, a top 3 in a very high passing volume offense. Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore do not scare me at all. They're not going to command targets the way that David Njoku can command targets.
Who would you rather throw across the middle to? A 6'6", 260-pound guy that runs just as fast as your 2 and 3, or the tiny guys that may or may not catch the football?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's the Derrick Henry of tight ends right now. That's for sure, bro.
Absolutely insane. We imagine David Njoku with like Tom Brady.
Oh my God.
I mean, imagine with Pat Mahomes.
I was just saying, put him on the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
That's
put him with Dak. I wouldn't mind him with Dak either. You mean Dak won't throw the ball to him?
We're going to get to Dak's tight end a little bit, too.
That's
I like him a lot. We will end this Cleveland Browns segment, though, with Amari Cooper. And we have down here the best wide receiver value in drafts. And we're going to test that with the Would You Rather game, because he's currently wide receiver 29.
That's why I wanted to do this.
Yeah, no,
I think when you're really looking at like his ability to command targets and sort of where he's going at, it feels like a steal. Like him, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, they're all kind of in that mold of like, why is their ADP so depressed right now?
And it is due in massive part to 26 receivers going in the first 36 picks of these best ball drafts, which is absolutely insane. But Cooper is wide receiver 29. He's going in the middle of the 4th round currently in these best ball drafts. Again, 2 above, 2 below, might skip around a couple, but we're going to start with T. Higgins or Amari Cooper. Fizzle.
Yeah, I got to go on my boy T, man. Playing for I mean, they both playing for a contract. Coop want to get paid next year too. But I think T really wants a contract. Like he's going to make sure he signed that 1-year thing for a reason. Like he ain't want to sign it. He didn't want to be there. So now that I'm here, I'm going to eat. And I'm going to be the number 1 receiver and free agent next year. So I'm going to go with T on that one.
He wants wide receiver 1 money
for sure.
Josh?
Amari Cooper's highs are much higher than T. Higgins' highs. Give me Amari Cooper.
I like T. Higgins quarterback.
I like T. Higgins too.
I was going to say, at that point, do you take Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow? That's what it's going to come down to.
Oh, Joe Burrow, 100%.
Yeah, sure.
But Amari Cooper isn't playing opposite Jamar Chase. That's the difference.
I will take Jake Browning over Deshaun Watson at this current point in time.
Damn.
Damn is correct. I would take a lot of starting quarterbacks in the end. I would take some backup quarterbacks in the NFL over Deshaun Watson currently. You could argue I'd rather Jameis Winston in there. If you told me Jameis Winston was the starter, I'd put Amari Cooper worlds above T. Higgins right now. Worlds above T. Higgins.
Crab leg king, baby.
And that's not to say Jameis is even good, but he can throw.
Oh, he's good. He's good. He's a lot of good.
George Pickens or Amari Cooper? Fizzle.
I say this. In best ball, I like Pickens. In a lineup, I like Cooper.
Okay.
Can I say that?
That's totally fine. Josh.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm those exact thoughts, Fizzle. We talked all last week about how down on George Pickens I am. I will take Cooper here, hands down.
fire me up, George Pickens. I fucking love George Pickens. I'm a big George Pickens guy. All right, Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk? Fizzle.
I'm going Cooper on this one, man. More so, they added Gabe, they added Brian Thomas. They're looking for some help with Trevor. Ball gonna be spread around. I like Kirk though, but I'm gonna take Cooper for just being the solid number one on this team. Kirk might not be the number one. He should be, but he might not. So I'm gonna go Cooper.
Josh.
I like both.
Okay, well, pick one. They're one spot ahead in draft. They're one.
I know. I'm gonna lean Cooper, and it really is. It's for the exact reasons that Fizzle said. Like, that, to me, the only competition for Cooper is David Njoku, and Njoku's not going to outproduce Cooper. So,
give me every bit of Christian Kirk at wide receiver 30.
Every
little
Christian
bit of it.
Kirk.
I bit on Kirk the last 2 years, and it paid off, and I'm buying again. I am all in. That is the best target Trevor Lawrence has rapport with.
Yeah.
He didn't have it with Ridley. And when they tried forcing the ball to Ridley, they couldn't win. When they said, oh, look, Christian Kirk's still here. He's good. When they started feeding him, they were winning football games. And I say every NFL coach is an idiot, and that's true. So I hope Doug Peterson realizes that Christian Kirk is the guy. And yes, get Brian Thomas Jr. involved. Use Gabe Davis like the ghost he is. And just work around that, and we'll be good. Terry McLaurin or Amari Cooper? Fizzle.
It's going to be a great season for Terry, but I'm still going Cooper on this one, man. Cooper's the more dominant guy. You could put Cooper. I feel like you can put Cooper in. It's hard to say because Terry can play with any quarterback too, as we can see. Apparently. So I was going to say you could put Cooper any quarterback, he's going to shine. Terry has shown he can do the same, but Cooper's a more dominant receiver one to me than Terry. So I'm going to go Cooper.
Josh.
Yeah, Cooper is a top wide receiver in this league. I really don't feel like we've seen that yet from Terry McLaurin. So give me Cooper.
I'm the Antichrist here, apparently. Terry McLaurin.
He's never had a top 15 season, dude.
Listen, he needs to beat wide receiver 30. We're not asking for a top 15 season, all right? Again, if Amari Cooper had Joe Flacco, I would be taking him in the first round.
I'm happy that you said that. I'm happy you said that. Let's talk about these splits here with Amari Cooper. 6 games with Deshaun Watson, he was on pace for 261 fantasy points. You know what he was on pace for without Deshaun Watson? 262 fantasy points. He's the same fucking wide receiver.
So he's better. That's all I'm hearing.
1
is
point
that
better.
Is he better though? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, we know
Njoku
on
pace for more yards with Deshaun Watson than without.
Nah.
Just saying. Like there was a much bigger difference in production pace for David Njoku than there was for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was on pace to finish as the wide receiver 12 with Deshaun Watson and without Deshaun Watson.
But did Amari Cooper light up a team for 300 yards with or without Deshaun Watson? And he did it without him. So that's where I'm at. Last guy before we move on, because there's a lot of hype around him. Amari Cooper or Jaden Reed, who is wide receiver 34. Fizzle.
Bro, there's honestly no hype for Jaden Reed with me.
Okay.
I feel like he's going to fade the black on his team. I think people are going to buy him. They're buying him way too high. That ball is going to be spread all over the place. So I'm going to take Coop, the dominant number one in Cleveland.
Okay, Josh.
I'm going to use Fizzle's answer from earlier. In best ball, give me all the Jaden Reed.
Okay.
In redraft, I'm going to take Cooper, just literally for that reason. I think he's so much safer. I do have Jaden Reed a lot higher in my overall rankings. I'm stupidly high on Jaden Reed this year. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in that offense. But again, they're going to spread it around, and you're going to have some dud weeks from Jaden Reed. Hopefully, they're not weeks that Amari Cooper's on the road, though.